Sean, what's this preseason look like as far as timing? Like, when do you get the guys in officially? What are you doing with them like right now? What can you do?
You there?
So everybody in college basketball gets 30 practices in 42 days. And the 42 days go from the first practice until the opening game, which for us is Duke and Charlotte. So if you think about it, when our season opens, when somebody else's season open, could be days apart, but we all get the same amount of practices, and that is 30, and you can only get 30 in the 42-day window. So that begins for us a week from today. Next Thursday, we go from where we're at right now, the 4 hours a week, and the team workouts. And I think you kind of have like 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You know, and for us, we're both going off campus and recruiting and working with your team. There's a conditioning element to what they're doing right now and the build-up. But things get started for real, like the old October 15th date that everybody used to know. That begins next Thursday for us. So it's been a long time in coming, and I think players, coaches, we're all excited to get there.
And real quick, that approach, does it change if you're in the first year of the program? Say, like you're in a third year?
No. Whether we like it or not, we get 30 practices in 42 days from the opener. I think what does change is just the familiarity, right? You know, when you have returning players, when you have different guys that have been through a full year, multiple years with you as a coach and your staff, then sometimes the summer and the fall can progress quicker just because there's such great familiarity. In our case, we don't have that luxury with the change. So this summer and fall have been crucial to bring everybody up to speed and, you know, making sure that we're as prepared as we can be for that month of November.
Sean, I'll kind of piggyback off of your answer to TJ's question. In the transfer portal era, you know, it's always a challenge to build cohesion, right? We've got, you know, flipping rosters. How have you seen that come along? Who are some of the guys who are stepping up as leaders, and how is the cohesion coming along with, you know, the new unit?
Well, I'm going to start with this, that one of the keys to us coming here, and I think any coach thinks this way, is, you know, retention. And, you know, I had the opportunity to coach against Texas, so, you know, when you scout a group, especially towards the end of the year, you know, you're more familiar with them when you play against them and you prepare for them. So I had that luxury, right? And I think that with Kendall, Tremont, and Jordan, and Nick Cody, who I didn't know as well, but certainly I know better now. You know, those four, I think we're looking forward. Ant McDermott becomes like number 5, and Ant has a different role right now. But I think that, you know, those guys, where they're at in their respective careers, the fact they've been through an SEC season and know what to expect, they played for the University of Texas, I think a lot of where we are is going to begin and end with them. Their leadership, their togetherness, their performance. I think we're going to count heavily on those guys. And I believe this, me being around them for the 4 months or so that I've been around them, 5 months, I think that if you just look at each of them on their face, to their ability level and their career they've had, those guys are all very good college players. And I think that, you know, I'll use Jordan Pope as the example. Not many college players score 40 points in a game. I don't care what game it was, where the game was played at, you can get 40. You're a rare offensive type of player. And so Jordan comes back to us in his final year, and we're going to count on him being a consistent threat from the perimeter.
Sean, one quick follow-up. You know, those of us who were there in Dayton, you know, heard just how loud those Xavier fans were. And when you talk about Moody Center, it's regarded by other coaches as, you know, a great venue, but, you know, it's not the loud, that kind of atmosphere. How do you go about creating what we used, those who were there, heard in Dayton, here in Texas?
Well, I think the first thing is, like, you have to have the facility, right? I mean, you can't manufacture something that is not there. The size of it, how it feels, and, you know, even the volleyball game that I was a part of a couple weeks back, you know, Jarrett's team, when they played Stanford, you know, it was electric on that night for the volleyball game. And I think that the seating capacity of less than 11,000, I have not seen you know, the video boards because they were down but not active. And I think when you add the video boards in the size and obviously the world-class nature of the building itself, we have that. I think the second thing that we have is, I think we have a student body that's excited and anxious to be a part of something. And I think the fact that they sit around the court where the corral seats are, you know, that's the second part of it. There are times when the student section is put in a bad position. Here, we're putting them in a very, very good position to impact the game, to have great seats. And from what I understand, and again, you guys would know better than me at this point, there are times when that building has been nothing short of great in terms of how loud it is. And it always starts the lifeblood of every arena with the students. And I think number one is me to connect with the students, our program to connect with the students. So it's a fun opportunity. It's something they're proud of, and they know that they can impact the final score, because it's the one thing about college basketball. There's no game that benefits more from a home court advantage than college basketball. I really believe that. And I think the history and the tradition of some places back me up when I say it. The last part is the part that is the most meaningful, and that is you have to have a good team. You have to have a good product. You have to play an exciting style, a style that people are proud of, and a group of players that you could tell are committed to playing for the University of Texas. And obviously winning takes care of a lot. So there are steps. What comes first? You know, winning or the great atmosphere. And I think to some degree, the great atmosphere has to show up at the forefront of it to spearhead a lot of great things on the court. So I recognize that's important. That's a big part of this job, and I'm looking forward to embracing the students. I don't think now's the time, me and them, because college football is in full bloom and the focus is on Saturdays. But there'll come a time, and we've already connected one time since they've returned to school, to make sure that the corral and the student section understand how important they are to me and our program.
Coach, 5 months ago when you came here, you probably had a plan of what you wanted to accomplish in these first few months. Can you give us the details of maybe what that plan was, and how has that kind of played out for you? Are you accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish?
Yeah, well, to show you how serious I am about it, I'm a week shy of 6 months. You know, I'm fully aware of how long that I've been there. Sometimes I tell myself that simply because you can only accomplish so much in a short period of time. And then, you know, there's other times when you start being here for 6 months, I think you have a better feel for the lay of the land. I think the first thing for me is what can you control? And that is to put together a cohesive staff, you know, a talented staff that can be here at the University of Texas and thrive and be a part of something that's really special. Second is to, you know, build the roster and from one year to the next. You know, when I went to, let's say, Arizona in 2009, I walked into a locker room, and for the most part, 80% of those guys, if not more, were going to return to the new coach and the new staff. It was just the way it was back then. This year, when I walked into the locker room, and any coach that made this change, you had 0 players on your roster. There's not one player that has to or looks at, I need to come back. You have to recruit them all over again. So I don't take lightly the fact that we have a roster of 15, that we built it, that we were able to retain a number of players, and I like a lot of the guys that we brought in. Now, how all that comes together in a quick manner, that remains to be seen. But I think the 2 priorities that I'm in control of here at the beginning is just that, and that is our staff and this year's roster. And then we start to implement all the different things that build a culture, a style of play, and then obviously the future recruiting that.
Somebody around the Big Ten told me that Heidi has more to his game than he's shown. Like there's something in there that could be unlocked. Have you noticed that kind of thing?
Well, you know, one thing about Cam Heidi is Cam has been at Purdue for 3 years, right? Not 2. He redshirted one of the years.
Yeah.
If you think about the games that he's played in the national championship game 2 years ago against UConn. This past year, Purdue got hot in the tournament, and a big reason was Cam, he played his best basketball of the season in the NCAA tournament. So I think when you look at Cam, one of the things we love about him is just who he has played against and the big moments that he's been in. So a lot of times how it used to be is you're at a program for a couple of years, and then you start to see that switch or that click in their junior year and senior year when they have experience and they've been in college basketball for a few years, that they hit a level that they haven't been at before. You know, it's back in the day that would be called, right, experience. You know, we don't always get to see that now. So I think we're getting Cam at a great point in his career, having done a lot. And I also think that one reason he came here is to have the opportunity to maybe expand a little bit from what he did at Purdue. And hopefully we have that opportunity for him. One thing that I know about Cam Heidi is he's an excellent shooter. And I don't think there's any more important skill in our game right now than a dependable, proven three-point threat. And we're going to rely on him, not just for that, but I think we hope that he can take that next step that you're talking about.
Coach,
How have
talk to-
guys like Kendall and Jordan and Tremont, guys who've played here before, not a long time, but albeit have played here, how have they helped you in your transition and getting familiar with Texas?
You know, they helped in a lot of ways that they don't even know. Just the rhythm of the day here at the University of Texas. You know, it's an amazing academic university, right? Going to school, getting an education. There's a lot to that. Preparing for class. Our players' days are full. It's not just about lifting weights and preparing and being in the gym as part of a team, but it's also, you know, holding their end of the bargain as a student athlete. And I think that really spoke loud and clear to me based on who they are academically, and I think what they've learned while they were here off the court. That's helped all of us understand the importance of being disciplined, making sure that everybody takes care of business both on and off the court. So I think that's one aspect that I would say is somewhat understated. And the other part of it is we're just getting into now, and that is when I went into the Big East, who helped me the most would have been the players who have already played in the Big East. And I think that as we get into our season, you know, them going to the different venues already, having played in this league, they'll be very helpful, not just to our staff, but their teammates as well.
On the roster management side of things, do you, you know, obviously you said the big three pillars were high school transfer portal, international recruiting. How do you approach kind of the fall where you have two signing periods, you don't really know who's going to be, I guess, fully back next year or who's going to be in the portal? How do you approach the fall recruiting period when you have, you know, these big time recruits coming in, and how many you want to sign, I guess, in November?
No, that's a really good question. You know, the word you left out is retention, and you know, that may be more important than anything else, right? Keeping the best players in your program and allowing them to return to the earlier question on Cam Heide, older, wiser, better prepared, have an opportunity to bring that experience to your team. If you really pay close attention to the Final Four and the best teams in college basketball, they have an amazing combination of talent and experience. And most of the time, that talent and experience happened because they continued to develop their own players. They went from freshmen to sophomores to juniors, right? So retention, I think, is really important. We're not there yet, but college basketball does things out of order. So if you start to go through it, the high school recruiting is up first. And to some degree, if you had like the perfect order to go in, both for them as young players making their choices, and you as a college basketball program, that may be better suited for the spring. But that's not how it works. So I would say the lion's share of high school players make decisions in the fall, and right now that's our priority. I think the days of large high school recruiting classes are over, simply because of what I just finished talking about, retention and getting older. But I think getting the right two or three, especially at the University of Texas, is crucial to us building a great program. You know, because again, when you get the young players, you know, sometimes they become Trey Johnson, right? And they're here for 9 months, but they do amazing things. And they allow you to recruit future Trey Johnsons. But other times they go from their freshman to their sophomore year, sophomore to their junior year, and you cultivate a lot of good there, not just with their own development, but building a culture. So we want to make sure that we get on the right high school players. You know, the state of Texas is important, but we want to recruit the best. And right now we're, I think, in a good place trying to do that. We'll see where we land.
Sean,
Coach, you
what's it
talked
like?
about retention,
Go ahead,
and
Jim.
one of the first players that you had, I don't know if it's a re-sign or commit to stay at Texas was Kendall Weaver. Can you talk about why that was important for him specifically? And then now that you worked with him for a few months, what's his superpower?
Well, I would say Kendall Weaver is one of our best players, and you may look at me and say, no kidding. But I don't know if the outside world really understands the talented basketball player he is, because he missed so much time last year. You know, for example, when we were preparing to play Texas in the spring in the tournament, you know, there were two different teams. There was the team that you watched without Kendall, and then there was the team with Kendall, and you could really see how he impacted winning. And it's not points per game with him. It's not, 25, although I do think he's a capable, consistent scorer. It's everything else he does. You know, his ability to make plays on defense, a steal, a block, fly around the court and impact a lot of different plays. I think he's best in transition. The faster the game gets, the more offensive plays he can make. And he's worked, and I think if you ask him, tirelessly on his three-point shot. And again, a lot of times as players settle in and get older, their shot settles in. And my hope is that Kendall can really have a great year from behind the arc as well. But it'll be hard for us to keep him off the court because he's such a great two-way player and he impacts the game in so many areas. It's not just one thing he does, it's just his versatility is what, in my mind, what is his superpower as a player. The other thing about it is, I think he's got about 10 pounds heavier. I think he's gotten bigger and stronger. That'll help him because I think his style, the more durable and physical that he can be, more prepared to take the hit, I think the better he'll be long term. So, knock on wood, we're hoping for a long stretch of good health as well. But he's worked hard in the weight room as well.
Sean, you're talking about recruiting. When you're recruiting with that Longhorn logo on your shirt, how does that compare really with Arizona, another state school in the Power Conference?
Yeah, I mean, I can only tell you the two others that I've been at, Xavier in Arizona. Texas is different. Everybody recognizes burnt orange. Everybody recognizes hook 'em and horns up. I think that's no matter where you're at, not just this country, but no matter where you go, there's this familiarity with our university and in particular our sports programs across the board. So I think you get a lot of respect. I will tell you though, and behind me the backdrop is perfect for me to say it. If I asked you how many programs in college basketball have gone to 22 NCAA tournaments in the last 24 years, I think you would be shocked at your research. Yeah. Some of those iconic programs that you're thinking about won't be able to say that. I think that the success here has been long-standing, and now it's a matter of can we go from continued strong success to make that great run and go deeper in the tournament, maybe more consistently. So the reason why I bring that up is I don't think that right now that we get enough respect for the program that we have. I think the second part of it is this is a brand new Texas. We're in the SEC, right? A lot of players over the years have been recruited to Texas in another conference. No disrespect to that, but I think what the SEC represents to young people in 2025 is never been bigger. It's the bright lights and the big stage of college sports. The Moody Center. There's a lot of players that have been recruited here over the years that they didn't have the Moody Center. Right here in this building, BBR, right? When you look at this with that in the conference that we're in, I think it's a new day here as well. So I think part of us recruiting is to make sure that when in fact we recruit, that everybody understands truly who we are and also like what we have today that might not have been in place even 5 years ago.
Do you find that's necessary? Like, do some big high-end recruits say, well, that's a football school in Texas? Do you have to kind of talk to them about the basketball legacy?
Here's what I'll tell you. If a family falls for the old football school narrative, they're probably not coming to Texas anyway. That's something that in 1990 you would say to me when I was being recruited because you didn't know what else to say. Texas is a world-class place. I think you guys know this. I can make the case that it's a heck of a volleyball school. Not to diminish football because it's great for everybody when the football program is thriving and awesome. It's exciting. We all benefit from their success and what they bring to this state and this university. So, baseball, Coach Schloss, to me, there's not a better baseball coach in our country. And you look at what he did in year one, they're the 1 seed in the tournament. Vic, women's basketball. So I think that one of the things you have to recognize as a coach and as we go out and recruit, what other place can say what I just said, and there's a reason behind it. Austin, Texas, the University of Texas it's really a 1-2 punch and a combination. You can't really compare to virtually any other place in our country, at least the places that I've been at. So it's up to us to sell the world-class nature and I think the uniqueness of how great our place is versus, hey, they're good in football. Of course we're good in football. You can be good in both. I know this national champ this past year, Florida, there was a time when you could have made that argument with them. So I think it's up to us to be able to keep building our brand in the sport that we're in.
Along those lines, Sean, you've had the top 4 teams in the SEC. You mentioned Florida, but there was Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama. These are all football places. Have you kept that in mind and said that to recruits, even that, you know, it doesn't have to be Kansas or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, again, what once was is no longer. And I just think you have to see it for what it is, and that is we're in a completely different industry in college athletics and college sports. To have the most money, to have the biggest TV contract, to have, you know, in the fall when you're turning your TV on, 4 or 5 teams every year vying for a national championship from your league, that's power. That's power that helps basketball. That's power that helps a new coach. That's not bad. As a matter of fact, that's really good. What's bad is when that football stadium is a third full and, you know, you're trying to figure out what the next TV contract is and how we're going to survive. Here at Texas, we're in an envious position of being in the best league at an amazing place. How that applies to men's basketball, we have to continue to build our own brand and our own culture and become a really good team. But to your question, can you do it? You answered it, of course. And I think there's some real advantages that will continue to be even bigger advantages moving forward, that we can be the best that we can be and really win a national championship in this sport. I have no doubt we can.
Coach,
Let's take 4 more, please.
Coach, why do you think it is? You said it's a world-class university, and of course there's a lot of money here. Let's take away the money. Now that you're on the inside, what do you think it is about the culture, the students, the environment here that makes it world-class?
Well, I think part of it is the leadership with Chris Del Conte and just the alignment that's in place from all the way, from the top all the way through. You know, in my 6 months, and I'll talk about alignment from this perspective, I've never had a better relationship or more interaction with the other respective coaches on our campus. I mean, it's really awesome. There are times when you could coach a sport on a college campus and be all in and love the place you're at and have zero interaction with any of the other coaches in the other sports. It's just kind of how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that, but when you can learn from, you know, Vic Schaefer or Jared Elliott, and somebody like Sark takes time out of his day to be helpful and pointing you in the right direction, you know, you're a part of something that feels different, like a family atmosphere. And then, you know, when you're in an airport, San Diego, I'm in Boston, or, you know, you're in Destin, Florida, and dressed in a t-shirt, right, off the beaten path, and somebody comes at you and gives you the horns up, like, there aren't places that are like that. This is such a unique place. And I think it's, right now, the big stage and the bright lights that accompany Texas, you know, it's a powerful combination. And we have to take advantage of it. We have to build our program and become the very best at what we can do in our respective league and game.
Coach, how do you feel like the players, the new and the old, are the chemistry with each other and how they're building with these upcoming weeks?
Our chemistry is getting better. I wish I could tell you, like, man, we're locked in as one. You know, only time gives us that opportunity. And this year, you know, especially in our early games, we're not going to be the very best team we can be. It's just, we've been together only for 6 months at this point, right? Coaching staff, head coach, players in our program. And really, in this 6 months that I've been here, a lion's share of my responsibility is recruiting. So you'd be surprised in a given week how you're tugged and pulled of leaving and coming back, leaving and coming back. And when you're doing that, it's very difficult to build that trust and that familiarity with the players that are here. So I look forward to next Thursday. That's when things settle in, where they get truly your undivided attention and you're around each other each day, each week at a longer period of time. And what that helps is everybody becomes even more comfortable than they already are. But that's key to us, believing in each other, believing in a new style and a new coach. That's not easy for young people. And I think if I had, you know, what's at the top of your list, you know, that closeness, that familiarity, that trust, you know, with your team, that's at the top for us as a staff.
You mentioned some of the other coaches here. Have any of them given you a piece of advice that's maybe stuck with you as you've transitioned into this position?
They've given me a lot of good advice, yeah. In terms of one thing that sticks out. I think that what they all seem to be well aware of is that when we remain aligned as a university and as an athletic department and even coaches, that we are a really powerful force. And that, that's something that to always keep in mind, that we are one. And for example, to a lot of the questions here today, there's nobody that wants Texas to win in football on Saturday night or Arch Manning to pass for about 600 yards than me as the basketball coach. Because we are one, and the better that we all do, I think the bigger upside that we all have in our respective programs. So I think that alignment that I referred to earlier is something that, to me, coaches on this campus are well aware of, and obviously they learned that from Chris Del Conte, and I think that's the culture that he has built long before I showed up.
Would you say that is your interaction with the coaches is iron sharpening iron? Is that a good way to say it?
There's a cafeteria here, and I'm not doing it justice by calling it a cafeteria, called the Tank. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of it, where all the student athletes and a lot of the coaches eat, especially lunch. And when you walk in there, I think if you ever want to be reminded of the special place you're at, it's in that environment, because what you find is everybody that you're looking at is trying to be an Olympian, the best in their sport, win a national championship, become a professional athlete, and you see it working across the board in all different shapes and sizes and sports. And it is, the analogy that I like to use is the strongest steel is forged by the hottest fire, right? We are in a highly competitive environment on the campus, in the classroom here, and I think that in talented people, driven people, young people, it can really bring out the best in them. And also, this is an environment that isn't for everybody. If expectations and criticism and some of the things that come with being in a place like Texas bother you, it's probably not going to work out for a coach or a player. So, I think you're right with the question you asked.
Sean,
One last one.
Last time we talked to you, Sean, you talked about Tremont Mark and Lucina Traylor just from a health standpoint, trying to get back to where they were before surgery. Where are those guys at? And just looking ahead to next Thursday, from a health standpoint, where's your team right now?
They're fully cleared, so they, and that's some time ago. They've been cleared for contact right at the beginning of the school year. I think in Tremont's case, that's really important, because if you follow like labrum surgery, which he had, that if it's done correctly, rehab's done correctly, you've waited long enough, you're built to last. I've coached several players at my previous stops that have had that surgery, and every one of them come out on the other side, and I think what they say is, I wish I would have did it earlier, right? Because when you don't have it and it's unstable, man, it could change quickly on a single play. So I think Tremont is healthy, and a lot like Kendall Weaver, that's a big part of success, keeping your best players healthy, and we're hoping that both of those two guys are. In terms of Traore, he's at a full year, or maybe a week away from a full year since his injury. I saw it, I was there, and he's made a full recovery. It's great to see him. The only thing he has on right now is a protective brace, and we're hoping in the next couple of weeks that he'll get rid of that as well.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,